When I moved to Philly for work, I knew the area wasn't great. Not run down enough to scare me off as a 6FT2 guy who used to work security, but not the kind of place you wander around at night alone either, whoever you were. My walk to work took me under a bridge every morning, and that's where I first saw her. She sat on a flattened piece of cardboard near one of the pillars, head lowered, hood pulled up. A asterisk please spare change for food asterisk. Sign scrawled in pencil was propped up beside her. At first I didn't think much of it until I looked again. She had no legs. Not covered or hidden, just no legs. There were stumps above where her knees should have been. I paused and took a closer look. She couldn't have been older than her mid-20s, and that part stuck with me more than anything. Her face was grimy and she had mangled, unkempt blonde hair, but I could tell. You expect to see older people out there, but not someone who still looked like they should have been in college. I reached into my wallet and dropped a few bills into the cup beside her. She didn't speak, she just lowered her head slightly. Everyone else walked past. The next time I saw her was the morning after the weekend, in the same spot, sitting in the same position. This time when I gave her money, she looked up at me. Her eyes were wide with something that looked like panicked desperation. I hesitated. "You okay?" I asked. No response. I assumed she was pleading for more cash, so that's what I gave her. But that wide-eyed look still persisted as I slowly walked away. Later that day, I got off work early and passed her again around midday, and this time she was looking down, as if trying to be invisible. It stuck with me for a while. The next morning when I stopped again, she did something different. As I handed her money, she slipped something into my hand, a small folded piece of paper, gray and worn, like it had been through it. I opened it while walking. The writing was in messy pencil scribbles, and it wasn't English. I looked over it curiously and put it back in my pocket, assuming it was a thank you note or something. During my work break, I pulled out the note again and glanced at it curiously, wondering what it said. An idea occurred to me. I downloaded a translation app and took a photo. Then I uploaded it to the app, which detected the language Russian. A few seconds later, the English translation came back. Asterisk do not give me money. Man is watching from other side, he see where you keep wallet. He wait for you when you alone. He make me do this. I blinked and read it again. A cold chill ran through me. I didn't take that route home, and when I got back I called the police. Told them everything, the woman, the note, the warning. The voice on the other end barely reacted, sounding like it was just another Tuesday. Just said they'd get someone to check it out. Didn't ask for the note or any further details. No follow-up questions, no urgency, nothing. I hung up with no real optimism that they'd take any action. 2 days later, I went back early in the morning just to check if anything had changed. The streets were still dark, completely empty at that hour. I had a fake wallet in my pocket and my pistol just in case, but I wasn't expecting to use it. I arrived hoping to see the area cornered off or at least some sign that the authorities had been there, but there was none at all. And she wasn't there. The spot under the bridge was empty. The cardboard and the sign were gone. I glanced at my watch and stood there, telling myself it was early, she might not be out yet. But where else would she be? After all, she slept here. I stood there longer than I should have, listening. The water beneath the bridge moved slowly, quietly. Then I heard something. Faint like a voice. I turned my head in its direction, then followed it cautiously down toward the riverbank. As I walked, the ground became uneven, damp. I paused a few more times, listening closely, but I didn't hear the sound again. I almost turned around and left. But then I saw a dark shape out in the distance shift. It didn't look right. I took a few more steps towards it, and that's when I saw what it was. Someone was in the water. I rushed closer, and that's when I saw her, turning in the current as it washed over her face. I opened my phone torch and pointed it at her. It was the same homeless girl from under the bridge. She was tied up and barely moving. I waded in without thinking. The water soaked through my shoes instantly as I grabbed her and slipped my arm under her shoulder. I lifted her out of the water. She was slippery and cold. There was blood on her arms and down the front of her shirt. Her eyes flickered open as I pulled her out, dragging her onto the bank. Then her eyes widened and her hand grabbed my shirt, weakly but urgently. I realized she was looking behind me. Then footsteps. I reacted before I could even think. I didn't even stop to look. I pulled the gun out, turned and fired. The sound was deafening, cutting through the silence. Something hit the ground in the distance before I fully saw it. My heart racing, I swallowed and approached closer, both hands on the gun. A tall man lay twitching on the damp ground. I pointed my phone torch at him. He was dressed in black, mask over his face. Gun in his hand. If she hadn't warned me, I would have been dead. As I looked into his eyes, the realization dawned on me. This was him, the one using her, making her sit there day after day, pulling people in. When she looked at me like that, she hadn't been begging. She'd been trying to warn me. And he must have found out about the note. I felt sick. Rage flooded in so fast it drowned everything else. I aimed at his head and fired. He stopped moving instantly, but I fired again. And again. I lost count. Each shot was louder than the last, splitting through the silence in the dark. I kept firing after it stopped being self-defense. Consequences be damned. It took me a few seconds to catch my breath after the last shot. Then I rushed back towards the water. By the time I got back to her, she wasn't responsive. I dropped to my knees beside her and lifted her. "Hey, stay with me," I said, my voice breaking. "You're okay, you'll be okay." There was no reaction. I pressed my fingers to her neck, feeling for anything. "Come on," I muttered under my breath. I pulled out my phone and called an ambulance, trying to keep my voice steady as I explained the situation. Every second felt stretched thin. "It's okay," I told her. "You're safe now." But I didn't know if she could even hear me. And as I said it, I could feel a sinking feeling in my chest. The paramedics tried. They worked on her right there by the water as I stood back watching them, but it didn't take long. She was pronounced dead on arrival. I still walk that route sometimes. Not because I have to, but because I can't stop thinking about it. I feel eyes on me every time I go back to that place under the bridge. Half the time I expect someone to step out of the shadows and come at me. I'm always ready for it now. I walk through it slowly, tense, waiting, listening for the smallest sound. But nothing ever since. People walk through it like nothing ever happened, just like every other part of the city. Most people never even noticed her. But now, some of them noticed the flowers I left where she used to sit.